I can do this. So the Mortal Kombat timeline actually starts with Mortal Kombat Mythology Sub-Zero. We follow a member of the Lin Kuei clan, Bi-Han, also known as Sub-Zero, who meets with Quan Chi, an evil sorcerer, who tasks Sub-Zero with helping him acquire the amulet that belongs to Shinnok, a fallen elder god who has been locked away for a while. And with this, he goes and murders a man named Hanzo Hasashi and his wife and son, and then Quan Chi murders the entire corresponding clan, the Shirai Ryu. But then Hanzo Hasashi comes back as Scorpion and fights Sub-Zero, and Sub-Zero wins, and he continues his mission until realizing that Quan Chi is only trying to manipulate him and confronts him after the God of Thunder, Raiden, tells him, hey, let's not do this. And after that happens, Sub-Zero defeats Quan Chi and then gives the amulet to Raiden, but then plot twist, the amulet was a fake and Quan Chi had the real one this whole time. Then we got Mortal Kombat Special Forces. You play as Jax. He meets Kano. Kano is bad. Now we really get started with the first Mortal Kombat, where we establish a tournament called Mortal Kombat, a tournament created by the Elder Gods as a sacred contest to prevent realms from invading each other without honor, but Outworld, run by none other than Shao Kahn, starts conquering other realms by winning 9 tournaments in a row. This prompts Raiden to put together a team of defenders for Earthrealm consisting of Liu Kang, Johnny Cage, Sonya Blade, Sub-Zero, Scorpion, and Kano. Then Scorpion and Sub-Zero cross paths again and they fight, and Scorpion wins by burning Sub-Zero alive. Throughout the tournament, Liu Kang is rising through the ranks, eventually running into Shang Tsung's four-armed prince Goro, who was Outworld's champion, but that doesn't matter because Liu Kang beats him and then breaks Outworld's 9 tournament win streak, and then beats Shang Tsung as the island collapses and they all escape except for Sonya and Kano, because who the fuck needs them, right? Which brings us to Mortal Kombat 2. Shang Tsung is sent back to Outworld and begs Shao Kahn to spare his life after losing to Liu Kang, which Shao Kahn agrees to after Shang Tsung suggests luring the Earthrealmers to Outworld for another tournament. Raiden then assembles his team of defenders, which now includes Jax, along with Kung Lao, who is the descendant of a man who died in a match against Goro before getting his soul trapped by Shang Tsung. But the rivalry between Scorpion and Sub-Zero continues as Bi-Han's younger brother, Kuai Liang, becomes a new Sub-Zero as he tries to uncover how his brother died, which leads to him crossing paths with Scorpion, and they fight, and Scorpion wins but decides to spare the new Sub-Zero's life and vows to protect him instead. Meanwhile, Shao Kahn puts together his own team consisting of Shang Tsung, along with Katana, who is his adopted daughter, who secretly fucking hates him and doesn't want to be there, Baraka, the leader of the Tarkatan army, Melina, who is a Tarkatan clone of Katana made by Shang Tsung, who has a lot of teeth, and Reptile, a servant spy on Earthrealm and can turn into a reptile. Also, Shao Kahn replaces Goro with Kentaro, who's Goro, but a tiger. Eventually, Liu Kang rises through the ranks as he defeats Kentaro, and then he fights Shao Kahn after Katana leaves her father, and then Liu Kang beats Shao Kahn, letting Earthrealm return home and also frees another realm called Edinia from Outworld's rulership thanks to Katana. But this angers Shao Kahn so much he plots a whole ass takeover, which brings us into Mortal Kombat 3, also known as Ultimate Mortal Kombat 3, also known as Mortal Kombat Trilogy, also known as the best one. Shao Kahn resurrects Sindel, Katana's mother, from the dead, which allows him to bypass the tournament rules, and it also made it so that Outworld can take over Earthrealm. So Raiden puts together his team of Earthrealm defenders, and they prepare for war. Shao Kahn receives word about this and sends out people to hunt down the Earthrealm defenders, but this backfires because Liu Kang beats the shit out of every single one of them and then defeats Shao Kahn yet again, saving Earthrealm, and falls in love with Katana as Sindel betrays Shao Kahn and sides with Earthrealm. As for Scorpion and Sub-Zero, well, Scorpion took the night off, but the Lin Kuei clan decided to turn their warriors into cyborgs with the creation of Sector Cyrax, and there's also another member of the clan named Smoke who got captured and then turned into a robot version of himself named Smoke. And then we get to Mortal Kombat 4, where Shinnok returns, and his goal is to take over any realm he can. With this news, Raiden, say it with me now, puts together a team of combatants to stop the invasion of other realms from happening. Meanwhile, Quan Chi is back, or here for the first time technically, because this game came out before Mythologies, because that game was a prequel, and tricks Sub-Zero into thinking Scorpion took out the entire Lin Kuei clan. So this makes Sub-Zero very mad as he fights Scorpion and beats him, but then Quan Chi interferes for some fucking reason, just spills all the beans, and tells both of them that he was using both of them just to have a laugh. So Scorpion and Sub-Zero both murder Quan Chi, and now they bury the hatchet. Raiden also gets a promotion to Elder God, which is pretty big for him, but that means he can't be the assigned guardian of Earthrealm anymore, so his brother Fujin, the God of Wind, takes on that role. Also, they defeated Shinnok. I kind of skipped over that, but yeah. Oopsie. So that brings us to Deadly Alliance, as we find out that Scorpion is still mad at Quan Chi, who is actually alive and didn't actually die, and is being hunted by Scorpion in the Netherrealm. But then Quan Chi stumbles across the tomb that contains what remains of the army that belonged to Onaga, the Dragon King, said to be Outworld's most powerful army. He then finds out that the army is a bunch of warriors that are basically zombies, but they need souls. So he forms a Deadly Alliance with Shang Tsung to give them all souls. Their first order of business, though, was to kill Liu Kang and kill Shao Kahn, because they believed they had the ability to stop the Alliance. So they successfully kill both of them. So now with that out of the way, Shang Tsung and Quan Chi both go ahead with their plan, using Shinnok's amulet to give souls back to the army, as Raiden tries to warn the Earthrealm defenders, but he's not allowed to do that because he's an Elder God, and he gets completely ignored, but he finds a loophole and forms together another new team. But most of them either die or were at least put out of commission, so Raiden pulls a Thanos and goes, "Fine, I'll do it myself," which prompts him to step down from being an Elder God and demotes himself back to being a boring old regular god, so he can do it himself. Which brings us to Mortal Kombat Deception, where Raiden challenges Shang Tsung and Quan Chi in a sanctioned round of Mortal Kombat, and the Alliance beat Raiden, but it turns out not all alliances are meant to last, as Shang Tsung and Quan Chi fight each other, which results in Quan Chi winning, but then Onaga comes back from the dead. Oh fuck! So Quan Chi tries to beat Onaga, but he can't, so then both Shang Tsung and Raiden get back up to help Quan Chi defeat Onaga, which doesn't work as Raiden tries the self-destruct beam that would take Onaga down with him, but it only kills himself and Quan Chi and Shang Tsung. They all died except Onaga, who then acquires Shinnok's amulet. Scorpion, Sub-Zero, Li Mei, Bo Raicho, and Kenshi all try to get to the bottom of this, but as it turns out, plot twist, Raiden is not actually dead. He survived that big explosion, except double plot twist, he's now Dark Heel Raiden. Onaga resurrects characters that died in the last game, but as brainwashed members of his own army. So Raiden tries to bring back Liu Kang, but Liu Kang is basically a zombie and an evil one too. Meanwhile, we meet some dweeb named Shujinko, who Onaga manipulates for actual decades to gather Kamadoku, which is a thing that exists in this universe. But then after a long ass fucking time, Shujinko finally realizes that he was being used by Onaga, so he fights Onaga and defeats him basically by trapping his soul. Shujinko never comes back up for like the rest of the timeline, by the way. Mortal Kombat Armageddon. The Apocalypse. I mean, yeah. That's where we are. There are these two gods called Delia and Argus, who have visions of all realms at war with each other, involving every character currently alive in the canon throughout every single game. So they create a giant pyramid and put a giant fire god named Blaze at the top to kill anyone who enters the pyramid, but they're not on the same page. You see, Argus wants to erase every combatant from existence, while Delia just wants to depower them. So they decide to settle this disagreement the only way a husband and wife can. By pitting their children up against each other. So Argus and Delia send their sons, Taven and Dagon, into stasis for a while, but after they wake up, Taven decides he wants to go to his father's temple, which showed a message from Argus that mentioned that one of them had to beat Blaze to become the new guardian of Edenia. Then Taven goes to his mother's temple, which was completely frozen by Sub-Zero, so they fight each other and Taven wins, but then Taven runs into Fujin, so they fight each other and Taven wins, but then finds out that his brother Dagon is actually bad? We also learned that Dagon had actually killed both his parents after finding out why they sent him and his brother on this mission while Taven was still in sleep mode. Then we get to Taven and Dagon fighting each other, where Taven wins by killing his brother. Then he defeats Blaze, which gave him Elder God status, but neither of the two visions ended up happening, and instead Outcome 3 happened, where everyone became more powerful and wants to kill each other, so every Mortal Kombat character ever dies. Then we move on to Mortal Kombat 8, which is actually Mortal Kombat vs. DC Universe, which I'm not counting because it's not canon, and thank God it's not canon because I would probably have to cancel this entire video. Now we got Mortal Kombat 9, also known as Mortal Kombat 2011, also known simply as Mortal Kombat, not Mortal Kombat, Mortal Kombat, which immediately retcons the ending of Armageddon, so none of that was actually important because Shao Kahn kills Taven, beats Blaze, and becomes a god, and then fights Raiden because they're literally the only two still alive. Shao Kahn wins, but before dying, Raiden sends a message to his younger self saying, this guy must win. He actually says he must win, but I don't know why I did that. And then, I guess we're going back to the beginning. So past Raiden receives the message from current/future Raiden, and so now Raiden knows about Armageddon. And he decides that this means that Liu Kang has to win the tournament in order to prevent Armageddon from happening. Then we get to Scorpion and the original Sub-Zero Bihan fighting again, because of course they are. Scorpion defeats Sub-Zero, but chooses not to kill him until Quan Chi comes back and puts all these fake memories in Scorpion's head that Sub-Zero killed his entire family. So Scorpion kills Sub-Zero. Then we go through the events of the first game where Liu Kang rises through the ranks and wins the tournament, but this doesn't actually do jack shit because they're all still gonna die. And then Kuai Liang becomes Sub-Zero again, and Smoke also comes back, but the Lin Kuei have already started their whole cyborg initiative. So Sector and Cyrax want to turn Smoke and Sub-Zero into robots, but Raiden saves Smoke, but not Sub-Zero because fuck that guy, am I right? All the while, Katana, who is still loyal to her father Shao Kahn because this is a new timeline, betrays Shao Kahn and is no longer loyal to him and sides with Earthrealm, so she starts to search for her sister clone Melina, and she also teams up with Jade, who is another warrior from Edenia who I haven't mentioned until now, but she was here the whole time. So the next tournament is about to happen, but what's this? Raiden chooses Kung Lao? It's okay though, because Kung Lao wins the tournament, but then Shao Kahn kills Kung Lao, which makes Liu Kang so mad, he beats the shit out of Shao Kahn, almost killing him, but none of this actually fucking matters because Armageddon is still gonna happen. Then Quan Chi and Shao Kahn form a deadly alliance where they resurrect Sindel, which created all the issues that were created in the original version of these events. So Raiden... Wait, let me guess. Does he put together another team of Earthrealm defenders? Bingo! A big war between the teams happens, and Shao Kahn gives Sindel a power boost, and so Outworld and Earthrealm continue to fight. Sindel, who I should clarify is a MILF, a mom I like to fight because she's evil and kills most of the Earthrealmers, including Jax, Jade, and even almost her own daughter Katana, but then Nightwolf pops up and saves Katana, but then dies in the process, but takes Sindel with him, but that didn't matter because Katana still dies. Raiden goes to Quan Chi and offers to sell his soul to Shang Tsung in exchange for everyone else coming back. Quan Chi rejects the proposal because, plot twist, he already made that exact same deal with Shao Kahn, and now all the dead characters are zombies. Then Raiden realizes that he must win is actually referring to Shao Kahn, which Liu Kang then hears about, and he doesn't like that, so he goes after Shao Kahn. Raiden stops Liu Kang by zapping him, but that ends up killing him by accident, so Raiden just gives up and lets Shao Kahn kill him, which lets him conquer Earthrealm, but the Elder Gods didn't like that, so they punish Shao Kahn by letting Raiden kill him. But then, plot twist, this was Quan Chi's plan all along, as it's revealed that he's working with Shinnok! Which brings us into Mortal Kombat X. Or 10, but most people call it X. Shinnok sent out his armies to invade Earthrealm, then Sonya, Johnny, and Kenshi fight off the army, and they go to the Jinsei Chamber, which is where, like, the Earthrealm gets its life energy from, and they find Raiden and Fujin fighting Shinnok. So the three interfere, which leads to Shinnok about to kill Sonya, which anchors Johnny, because he's in love with Sonya. I don't know if I mentioned that before, I'm just assuming you knew that already. So he rushed onto Shinnok, which somehow unlocks some crazy superpowers for Johnny Cage, so he fights Shinnok, and Raiden grabs the amulet and traps Shinnok within it, but then Quan Chi escaped. Scorpion and Sub-Zero permanently put an end to their rivalry because Sub-Zero took down Sector and took control of the Lin Kuei and was able to show Scorpion the truth of what happened and that he was manipulated by Quan Chi. Then we jump a whopping 20 years and Sonya and Johnny have a daughter named Cassie who is leading a younger generation of Earthrealm defenders that fans deemed the Combat Kids. The aforementioned Cassie is among them along with Jackie, who's Jax's daughter, Kung Lao's nephew Kung Jin, and Kenshi's son Takeda. They go to Outworld to make peace with their new ruler Kotal Khan, who's fighting a civil war against Melina, who used Kano to get Shinnok's amulet, but Kano folds once Sonya beats the shit out of him and he tells her everything, which prompts Sonya to tell the Combat Kids about this. They team up with Kotal Khan to get Shinnok's amulet, but psych! Kotal Khan actually fucks over the Combat Kids and holds them hostage because he wants the amulet for himself. But then the amulet gets stolen by Devora, who is Kotal's right-hand woman, but plot twist, she was a spy for Quan Chi. Once Jax and Kenshi find out about this, they go to the Netherrealm to find Quan Chi, and then they find Quan Chi, and then they fight Quan Chi, and then they beat Quan Chi, and then they capture Quan Chi, and then they send Quan Chi to a fucking internment camp. This meant that Quan Chi is on Earthrealm, which is news that Scorpion doesn't take too kindly to, so he wants to kill Quan Chi, which clashes with what Sonya and her crew are trying to do. So they try to hold him back, but eventually Scorpion kills Quan Chi, but not before he can finish the spell to bring back Shinnok, who he along with Devora capture Johnny Cage and corrupts the Jinsei Chamber, so Shinnok turns into a fucking demon. So the Combat Kids go into the chamber, and Cassie sees her dad getting absolutely bodied, so she charges at Shinnok and unlocks the same power that her father had earlier, so she fucking destroys Shinnok, and Raiden undoes the damage that Shinnok did to the chamber. Raiden is also in possession of Shinnok's amulet, which corrupts him, and we also find out that the zombie versions of Liu Kang and Katana are the new rulers of the Netherrealm, and now we get to Mortal Kombat 11. Holy shit. You think it's gotten convoluted already? It's somehow about to get a lot worse. We meet Kronika, Shinnok's mom, and the Keeper of Time, and is prompted by the events of the last game to go ahead with her big plan, which is to change the history of the entire franchise and remove any time Raiden interferes from ever happening. A few years go by, and Raiden, who is still dark, morally questionable, but still ultimately good Raiden, along with Jackie, Cassie, and Sonya, who's now voiced by Ronda Rousey for some weird-ass fucking reason, are on a mission to bring down the Netherrealm, but this makes Sonya sacrifice her life and die, but the upside is they successfully bring down the Netherrealm. Then Kronika approaches Liu Kang and Kitana, but remember, they're still both zombies, and tries to form an alliance with them, which leads to a big time storm in Outworld, which interrupts Kotal Khan as he's about to execute some guy named the Collector, but with a K. When this happens, a bunch of younger past versions of characters show up, and that's right, it's the multiverse! Also, Kronika's time storm erased present-day Raiden from existence, but past Raiden is now here, so get fucked? So a bunch of people are fighting, but Kronika is building her own team, which leads to a truce between Earthrealm and Outworld to fight Kronika. So then we meet Garrus, who's Kronika's right-hand man, and then Liu Kang and Kung Lao fight Garrus, which ends in him escaping, and he can also rewind time, by the way. Scorpion and Sub-Zero also find out that Sector, Frost, and Noob Saibot, who is actually the co-creators' last names backwards, are helping Kronika build an army of cyborgs. With all this bad stuff, Raiden approaches the Elder Gods to ask for help, but you should know how that goes by now. So he leaves, but then gets intercepted by Cetrion, who is Kronika's daughter, which makes her Shinnok's sister. Did you know that that's how that works? And seems to want to help Raiden, but she's really working for her mom. Meanwhile, Kotal Khan and Jade, who may have fucked at one point, fight off Kronika's forces. Then Liu Kang, Kung Lao, Kitana, and Shiva team up, and Kitana kills Shao Kahn, which means Kitana is the new ruler of Outworld, while Jackie and Jax, but younger Jax, are sent to retrieve the Crown of Souls. But then Cetrion shows up with an older Jax who is really depressed and takes the crown for herself. The current Scorpion runs into Devora, and then they fight and Scorpion wins, but then younger Scorpion shows up, but current Scorpion convinces past Scorpion to leave Kronika and join the heroes, but then current Scorpion dies because Devora poisoned him, but then past Scorpion fights Devora and beats her and joined the heroes, but Raiden doesn't trust this new version of Scorpion. So they fight, but then Liu Kang breaks up the fight, but then plot twist, Kronika's been fucking with the timeline this whole time. So then the heroes go to find Kronika's stronghold in the Netherrealm, but Kronika has been planning on merging past normal Liu Kang with current zombie Liu Kang, and she does and sends Liu Kang after Raiden, but then Raiden and Liu Kang fuse with each other, which creates Fire God Liu Kang. A big war happens, but then it doesn't happen because Liu Kang rewinds time and he defeats all the zombified characters in Cetrion, but then Kronika takes Cetrion's soul, which lets her reset the entire timeline after that already happened 2 games ago, but then Liu Kang beats Kronika and fucking kills her to death and then destroys the Crown of Souls, which leads to him meeting a mortal version of Raiden who becomes Liu Kang's advisor. But Mortal Kombat 11 is not done because of the DLC expansion called Aftermath. This starts with Liu Kang and Raiden wanting to restore the course of history, but before they could, they get greeted by Fujin, Nightwolf, and Shang Tsung? I thought he was dead. Oh yeah, he supposedly died earlier, by the way. I don't think I mentioned that. But who am I kidding? It's Mortal Kombat. Nobody fucking stays dead. They approach Raiden and Liu Kang, and Shang Tsung reveals that fusing the Hourglass with the Crown of Souls will just destroy all reality, which is definitely not what already happened, I swear. Shang Tsung, Nightwolf, and Fujin decide to travel back in time to retrieve the crown, so Cetrion can't do that, which leads to Fujin, Nightwolf, and Shang Tsung arriving in Outworld as Kitana and Shao Kahn are about to fight, but they decide they need to resurrect Sindel, who is still a zombie. So they went to the Soul Chamber to properly revive Sindel, so then they can go to Shang Tsung's stronghold, where Sindel kills Cetrion, so then they get the crown, which leads to Kronika trying to get it back, but fails, but plot twist, Shang Tsung is the one who created the Crown of Souls, and uses it for himself, which leads to Sindel and Shao Kahn reuniting. Then most of the Earthrealm heroes get defeated, and Shang Tsung fucks over Shao Kahn and Sindel by sucking their souls, and then he kills Kronika, which erased her from existence, which allowed him to mess around with the Hourglass and rewrite history, but plot twist, Liu Kang knew about Shang Tsung's plan the whole time. So then they fight, and Liu Kang wins and erases Shang Tsung from existence, where he then creates a whole new reality. Or Shang Tsung wins, zapping the soul out of Liu Kang, absorbing his power, and becoming a big old titan. 2 endings for you, but the Liu Kang one is sort of the one that leads into the next game, Mortal Kombat 1. Not Mortal Kombat 1, Mortal Kombat 1. That's right, another reboot! Completely new timeline! Liu Kang is the guardian of Earthrealm, there's peace between Earthrealm and Outworld, Liu Kang and Raiden swap roles, Shang Tsung is a loser con man, Scorpion is now Kuai Liang instead of Hanzo Hasashi and he's Sub-Zero's brother, and Smoke is their third adopted brother. Katana and Mileena are now biological sisters instead of Mileena being a Tarkardon clone of Katana. Tarkardon is also now a disease instead of a race of people. Kenshi is not blind except he becomes blind. General Shao is here, not Shao Kahn. General Shao, who turns out to be working with Quan Chi and Shang Tsung, who bring back their whole Deadly Alliance thing. Sub-Zero betrays his brother and sides with Shang Tsung, so Scorpion and Smoke leave the Lin Kuei because they were both part of the Lin Kuei. I don't think I mentioned that. Johnny Cage is here. Ermac is here and is turned into Katana and Melina's father, Jared. Titan Shang Tsung from the bad ending of the Aftermath DLC from MK11 is here, making both endings canon, so a big old multiversal brawl happens where Liu Kang beats Titan Shang Tsung and everything is all good until Havoc shows up. Okay, alright. This is the home stretch. The Chaos Reigns DLC expansion starts right where the main story for MK1 left off. Sub-Zero has taken full control over the Lin Kuei clan and sends out Sector and Cyrax, who are no longer robots and are instead two women in robot suits, on a mission, but Cyrax doesn't quite give in, so Sub-Zero makes up some bullshit about Liu Kang and Scorpion, so he sends Sector and Cyrax to assassinate Scorpion on his wedding day, but Earthrealm heroes are attending this wedding. So they fight Sector and Cyrax, and then Sub-Zero, for some fucking reason, reveals that he lied to Cyrax, so they fight, and Cyrax leaves the Lin Kuei. So Sector and Sub-Zero are sent to Outworld's court for sentencing, but Cyrax gets off because she didn't want to do any of this. So a whole courtroom drama ensues until Havoc and his crew show up, and Havoc reveals he was in cahoots with Titan Shang Tsung, and is why he knows about other timelines within the multiverse, so he wants to fuse all timelines into one big timeline. So a big brawl happens, even Sub-Zero and Sector help out our heroes, and they all win, but Havoc and his crew manage to kidnap Garrus while fleeing the scene, and after seeing this, Sub-Zero runs after Havoc, but then also gets caught in the portal. Fucking idiot. Havoc reveals he is planning to steal Garrus' time crystals and fuse them with his Kamadogu, which is the thing that Shujinko was collecting in MK Deception. Remember that guy? No, you don't. So all the Earthrealm heroes plan out how to stop Havoc, so Scorpion, Sector, and Cyrax get sent to Havoc's universe and meet a new version of Johnny Cage, who is a military colonel, and they also meet Rain and Tanya, who in this universe were former rulers of Outworld, so they all team up and go through an underground maze where Rain dies, but then Tanya forms an alliance with a giant dragon, which helps them escape. They make it to Havoc's stronghold, but then run into Sub-Zero, who was turned into Noob Saibot by Havoc, but then he loses to our heroes, and then they save Garrus and steal Havoc's Kamadogu, and then bring Noob Saibot back to the current main dimension, and then they attempt to revert Noob Saibot back to Sub-Zero, but they can't, but they still make it so that he's no longer aligned with Havoc. But then Havoc comes back to Liu Kang's world, where he gets back the Kamadogu, which makes him powerful, but it doesn't fucking matter because Noob Saibot and Liu Kang team up to defeat Havoc, and Noob tries to completely dismember Havoc, but Liu Kang stops him because some mumbo-jumbo about Havoc and other timelines, and this pisses off Noob, so he tries to attack Liu Kang, but Garrus uses his power to freeze Noob in time, and then Havoc gets his fucking appendages chopped off, and everybody lived happily ever after. Holy fuck. But then a new deadly alliance forms between Gex, Jitters, Miles fucking Edgeworth, and Glep, and they destroy the entire multiverse and become the new Keepers of Time. Fuck you!